Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Accessible Services Advisory Committee. Let's start with the roll call.
Members, please make your selections on the tablets.
I think we vote present.
Chair, we have a quorum with 10 members present and 5 members absent.
Thank you all for coming, and I'm really glad to see that we have a quorum, 2/3 actually. Let's go on to the public comment. Do we have any members of the public here to make comments?
We do. Peter Zishi, please make your way to the podium.
I live in San Diego, California. I'm speaking today on behalf of the United Taxi Workers of San Diego. I just wanted to announce that we have a new grant, a SANDAG grant. We're working with FACT, who is a transit organization in San Diego. And our particular purpose in this grant is to see how we can implement the MTS wheelchair accessible vehicle policy that they passed in 2023. This committee was advised of some survey results that MTS was conducting, and we helped them with community outreach to some professionals that do surveys in 2022, and they report on the results, but I don't know if you ever got a report on the policy itself. So I don't have a copy of it. You can download it off the MTS website, but in particular, we're going to be seeking to see how to implement parts of this policy to make sure that MTS taxis are part of the solution to serving people with disabilities in San Diego County. We'll maybe make a more complete presentation as we get into it's a one-year grant, but maybe we can come to your next meeting and give you an update. Look forward to working with members of this committee. If you're interested, please contact George. I know him well, and he can put you in touch with United Taxi Workers. In the meantime, have a great holidays. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Zishi. Any other comments from the public?
We do not.
Okay, let's move on to number 3, approval of the minutes. Do we hear a motion to approve them?
Members, please make your selections on the tablets.
It's not taking my vote.
Chair, there has to be a motion first, please.
Oh, of course. Oh, yeah.
Tim Garrett, I'll make the motion to approve the minutes.
We've got a motion, and Renee, you want a second? And a second. Wonderful. Now we can vote. I should have asked if there were corrections, additions, or deletions, but I take it that there aren't. So.
We're still waiting for one member to vote.
Okay. Is it possible that people that weren't here might not want to vote? They could abstain. Okay. Mm-hmm. You can use mine.
You don't have to abstain even if you're not here, unless you have significant concerns with it. But if you would like and prefer to abstain, you can. Oh. But legally, we don't feel it's not appropriate if you just say yes or no to it.
Looks like it's unanimous.
Quorum passes with 10 voting yes and 5 members absent.
Okay. Okay, next we've got our discussion items, starting with number 4, fiscal year 2025 annual performance monitoring report with Beverly Neff and Matthew Grace.
Good morning. My name is Beverly Neff with MTS Planning, and I'm here with Matt Grace, also with MTS Planning. Today we'll be going over the FY25 performance monitoring report. Before we begin, many of you may not be familiar with what a performance monitoring report is. So briefly, a performance monitoring report is a document that assesses the performance of public transportation systems by collecting and analyzing data on key metrics. These reports are used to evaluate the system's efficiency, effectiveness, and adherence to performance targets, helping agencies make informed decisions about service improvements, resource allocations, and future planning. This is a report that we take to the board quarterly. We have a quarterly performance monitoring report as well as an annual performance monitoring report, which is the one that you're being presented today. The annual report also includes major changes that were completed in that fiscal year. So I'm going to start the presentation with the major changes, and then Matt will go into the different metrics. The first two listed on this slide are pretty simple changes. We discontinued the Sorrento Valley Coaster connection. These were routes that operated in Sorrento Valley. They connected to the coaster and served the business districts in Sorrento Valley for many reasons, including the fact that they are scheduled around the coaster. NCTD took over these services in 2024. A second change we did was we increased trolley service across all lines to 15-minute. And then the last two on the slide, the Copper Line and the Route 910, I'll go into more detail on the following slides. The Copper Line was implemented in September of 2024. Many of you may remember when the Green Line extended all the way into Santee and the Orange Line to Arneal. When that was the case, it created some issues because we have single tracking along that corridor. And so it caused some delays on the system that really impacted the entire system. And so we decided to launch this new Copper Line that would shuttle people back and forth between Santee and El Cajon, and the Orange Line and the Green Line now terminate at El Cajon. With this, the Copper Line still operates every 15 minutes. We maintain the current span of service, and we use a one-car consist, and we have the ability to increase that if needed, based on demand, ridership demand. Some of the benefits of the Copper Line are reduced travel times through intersections along Cuyamaca because of the shorter trolley. We have improved break times for trolley operators because the trains are more on time. And then there's also operational costs of about $1 million. And overall, there's just improved reliability across the entire trolley system. This slide shows the late trips post Copper Line compared to the previous year without the Copper Line. Everything in gray are the late trips before the Copper Line was implemented, and you can see that they've been drastically reduced as a result of the Copper Line. As expected, the Green Line, we cut our late trips by about half, the Orange Line by about 2/3, but even the Blue Line that doesn't directly connect, even that line showed significant improvement. And overall, it's been about half of the late trips that are now on time. And we're seeing the same trend with the annulled trips and missed trips. Just as we're seeing significant benefit as a result of the Copper Line's launch. We also implemented a new route, the Route 910, in January of 2025. One of the biggest requests we receive is overnight service for the Blue Line trolley. You may or may not be aware that heavy freight uses our tracks overnight. If you ever hear like those big horns at 2-3 o'clock in the morning, those are the heavy freight trains using our tracks. And so because they're using our tracks, we're not allowed to operate the Blue Line trolley 24/7. But instead, we decided to launch a new bus route, the Route 910, that essentially mirrors the Blue Line trolley. We don't stop at every single bus stop, at every single trolley station, but we do have stops in San Ysidro, at San Ysidro, the border, at Iris. We serve Chula Vista at Palomar. We serve National City at 24th Street, and then it goes into Barrio Logan. It serves the naval shipyards, and then into downtown. Since we would launch this in January, we've seen growing ridership. And again, you see these numbers, it's about 250 a month, but this is actually pretty high ridership considering this is 2 o'clock in the morning. So, this slide ends in June because this is an FY25 presentation, but the trend is continuing to go up. Bringing it back to Board Policy 42. This is the policy that governs our performance monitoring, how it's structured. And again, this is something that we have to bring to our board quarterly. We bring a quarterly report 4 times a year, and then the annual once a year. And this policy is a process for evaluating and adjusting existing transit services to improve performance. And it includes procedures for implementing service changes. It includes a vision for customer-focused, competitive, integrated, and sustainable systems. And it's broken out by various categories that Matt will go over in the next couple of slides. These are all of the metrics that are included in the performance monitoring report. We won't go over every single one of these today, but we will be focusing on the ones that are bolded. And so with that, I'll hand it over to Matt.
Thanks, Beverly. I'm Matthew Grace, the Transit Services Data Analyst for the Planning Department. And for the next few slides, I'll just be going over our pre and post-COVID recovery as far as ridership is concerned, and comparing a few agencies of size that are comparable with ours to show what our rankings are, how we're doing in recovery, and how our ridership has increased over the past few fiscal years. So this chart shows that overall, for the past 4 years, we've been increasing about 7% each fiscal year as far as ridership is concerned. Right now, as of fiscal year 2025, we were at about 81 million ridership-wise. And just wanted to note here too that access ridership, which includes both access and taxi, increased about 12% over last year. This next slide shows our ridership recovery versus national trends. So these are the top 40 transit agencies across the nation. And only 2 had really significant ridership recovery. We're number 2. The only other largest agency was New York MTA, which has a much higher population. This slide shows our ridership recovery again versus national trends. This just shows how far we moved up in rankings. Pre-COVID in FY19, we were at rank 21 as far as our ridership recovery, and actually as far in terms of just our total overall ridership. But as of 2025 fiscal year, we've moved up to rank spot 13. So we've moved up about 9 spots compared to other transit agencies. This chart shows that MTS is the only agency that has moved up more than 6 ranks across the country, which is a significant improvement in terms of ridership recovery due to COVID. This slide shows ridership by metro area. So it's just comparing the largest population ranks across the country by metro area. And so based on population and total ridership, MTS, including NCTD, was ranked number 18 by population. But if MTS was its own service area, like a standalone service area, not including NCTD, we'd be ranked 28 overall. This next slide shows passengers per revenue hour. Most of our categories increased. We're sitting at about 2% compared to last year as far as passengers per revenue hour. Trolley trended down a little bit based on an increase to service compared to last fiscal year. But otherwise, it's performing very well. This slide shows our fare box recovery. And our goal since the pandemic has not been met as of yet. We're still recovering here. The national average is about 20%, and we're sitting right at that national average at 19.6 as of last fiscal year. Subsidy per passenger is also trending down. Year over year, it's still a little stagnant. It hasn't come back down to our pre-COVID subsidies, but we are trending down there. This slide shows our financial stats by bus route category. So this is just to show that it indicates or shows how frequent our more frequent service categories have increased recovery and lowered subsidies. So as you can see, urban frequent, urban standard, those all have much higher recovery rates and lower subsidies per passenger. And this next slide shows our financial stats versus national trends. So this is based on the most recent transit information coming from the National Transit Database. Right now, they don't have fiscal year 2024 available yet, so we can only compare it to fiscal year 2023. But as you can see here, MTS is doing really well. This is just comparing agencies within California, the largest agencies within California. And as you can see, our subsidy per passenger is much lower even than that of LA Metro, which is the largest or one of the largest. And also our fare box recovery rate is much higher compared to other agencies within California. And so this is just kind of a brief summary. Right now, we're sitting at about between 2 and 3% of full recovery from COVID. So from fiscal year 2019, we're still trying, we're almost there at full recovery. And again, as I said, ridership is increasing 7% year over year. That's the average. So I would estimate within the next year or 2 years, we'll be at full recovery for COVID. And that's it for me. Are there any questions or comments?
Questions or comments? Well, I'm really impressed with how we bounced back after COVID, and a little surprised that we're so much above average in our recovery. But whatever we're doing, we need to keep doing it. Yeah, thank you for the report. Folks have any questions? Oh, Renee, we've got one from Renee.
Hi. It was I want to say too, it was very impressive how we are in the top 40 of all the agencies around in the United States. We're doing very good. The other thing I wanted to know, because I wanted to tell you guys from the trolley, sometimes on the weekends and Saturdays, when I get out like 12 o'clock from the convention center, it's kind of hard to get trolleys there. Only just to let you guys know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Todd?
I kind of had a question based on some of your past comments or questions in regards to, I think when Brent was presenting about, how the future looks and everything like that, and like an initiative if it were to come forward. And in the total passengers, I'm wondering if there's any way to take and like pull out how many of these passengers are SDM versus monthly adult full fare, riders. So I was just curious if you could separate that. It may be too hard simply because there's always people who are just buying one card for one day, but I know a lot of people have the, monthly pass and then the SDM. So I don't know if you could actually pull that or not, but I was just curious.
We do. We actually have something that's more internal called our cash pass revenue analysis, but we do have those numbers.
And the post-pandemic recovery, is that occasional riders returning to the system. What kind of riders, what kind of riders did we lose during the pandemic, and what kind of riders are coming back? Can we make generalizations about that?
We're definitely seeing different trends. We were pre-COVID very Monday through Friday peak travel days, and we're seeing trends more so with higher ridership on the weekends and lower on the weekday. We're seeing less ridership from office workers in downtown. We're seeing more night activity. So the trends are definitely changing post-COVID. I think it's a combination of casual riders, as well as just the different industries that have kind of stayed strong post-COVID versus other industries that have become a little bit more remote.
It might be partly generational too. Could be a change over time that has little or nothing to do with the pandemic, because well, this is just purely anecdotal, but there's probably surveys that would bear this out. I've noticed that when older people talk about using the trolley, it's likely to be their job, whereas younger people, it's likely to be a sports activity or Comic-Con.
Right.
And so it could be that we're just shifting toward a gradual cultural shift, where people are using the trolley more for these optional things that might be on weekends.
Right. Yeah. Our special events ridership is definitely, it's high, as well as, but not to take away from our regular business commuters. We have a lot of people that cross the border every day and go to their jobs here every day. The ridership at the border, even through COVID, wasn't that impacted. It did go down a little bit, but not as much as the rest of the system. So it's definitely a combination.
Yeah.
It could still be, large agencies like ours, in our budget, we were given expansion for employees, but no expansion for space. So we're still having to have workers out working from home remotely 2 days a week and 2 days in the office, or maybe 3, or vice versa. And so I think my guess is that a lot of businesses have had to look at that, and, the cost of being in a building these days are expensive. And if you can do stuff from home, it's cheaper to do. So that might still be, or fall into some of the trends you're seeing too.
And another thing that I don't know if we detect the change this soon, but we certainly should be watching to see if the improvements in public safety are making a difference, because I know that one of the main complaints people have had about transit is the safety, and that they don't feel safe using it. And MTS has invested quite a lot in improving safety, as well as making the safety measures more visible, so that the perception of safety and the reality are both significant. And I don't know if we see the results yet, but I would think you'd probably see improvements in ridership related to improvements in safety. Any other comments or questions? Yes.
Matt, you mentioned the access includes taxi. Is that like access rides that are contracted to taxis if access isn't available? Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, subcontractors, all of those numbers are kind of lumped in together for the annual performance monitoring report. But we do break that out a little bit in the quarterly reports that we're doing now, where access and taxi are both separate.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for the report.
Thank you.
And next we have the fixed route and trolley update. Keith Van and Aaron Pitt.
Hi,
two
good
of our
afternoon.
regulars.
Keith Van, Manager of Service Operations for our in-house bus operations, which consists of the Imperial Avenue Division and Kearny Mesa Division. A little bit about the fixed route overall as a system. No. There, too far. Oh. So, well, this is just in-house. We have actually 26 routes, about 250 buses, 500 drivers. But as a whole system, we operate 93 routes in 10 cities and unincorporated areas in San Diego County. Including paratransit vehicles, we have about 750 vehicles. And as of November 25th of this year, our ridership so far just for fixed route buses is about 13.1 million. All right, so as an update, December Nights is happening tomorrow and Saturday. I'm sure everyone's aware it's the city's annual holiday extravaganza. Tons of traffic through Balboa Park, downtown, Hillcrest, all surrounding areas. It's a hot mess. So I'm kind of go over what our plan is this year. It's the exact same as last year. So if you aren't aware, I'll let you know what it is. So starting tomorrow, between 3 and 11 p.m., we're actually going to be detouring our Route 7 and 215 at Park and University to the 163 and into downtown. So this is also the same time, well, Saturday's 2 to 11, but buses, regular service will not be on Park Boulevard between University Avenue and City College. However, we are providing free shuttles from City College that are kind of going, as you can see here with the dotted red line, in a counterclockwise motion through Florida Canyon, up Morley Field, and dumping right into the southbound bus lane on Park Boulevard, and we'll service all the southbound stops all the way down to Broadway. Last year, we had about maybe on a good 5 to 6 buses each night. And over the course of the 2 days we provided, I don't know the ridership, but we've made 86 trips out of City College. This year we've requested 8 buses per night. So fingers crossed, we'll be able to move a lot more and make more trips. A couple of different things we're doing this year is we've got some huge sandwich board A-frames with this same map on there. One's gonna be the boarding location at 11th and C, City College, Route 7 and 20 stop. The other will be placed along Park Boulevard southbound, better wayfinding signage for people to be notified that, hey, this is where you're gonna catch the shuttle back to downtown. Also, the passenger service representative team this year is implementing new queuing signs for more organized boarding. So one will say start of the line, one will say end of the line. In the past, I think we've done all door boarding, and it speeds it up, but it's unrealistic. So I think this year we're going to try and be a little more organized and everyone through the front door and actually count all the ridership. So that's for December nights for Friday and Saturday. Other thing that's impactful is the Santa Fe Depot bus station is under construction. It's impacting our 215, 225, and 235 bus stop. So all the buses are out on Broadway at Kettner facing eastbound. It's been that way for a couple months, and it's going to be that way for at least a few more months. That's about it for the updates from Fixed Route. Aaron?
Good afternoon. I'm Aaron Pitt, Manager of Special Operations for the Trolley. I maintain scheduling for special events such as games, and also coordinate for construction projects with bus and planning. So we're going to talk about today a little bit about the trolley service. Got a summary of service here that we operate 39 trains on a weekday, 32 on the weekend throughout our operating window. To operate this level of service, we employ approximately 180 operators. We're trying to hire more, but that's where we're running with right now. The blue line goes from Sandy Cedar to UTC, makes 294 trips every day between Monday and Friday, and 166 on Saturday and Sunday. Service begins with the first train, pulling at 4:18 a.m. and ends at 1:07 a.m. So we have a very large operating window. And as was said earlier, the only reason we don't operate 24 hours on the blue line is because of the freight that we share the line with. On the weekend, we have 13 trains running on the Blue Line to have a frequency of every 15 minutes. And on the weekdays, we have a total of 20 trains on the Blue Line. For the Green Line, we go from Imperial Terminal to El Cajon now, due to the Copper Line. We run 156 trips, Monday to Friday, 151 trips, Saturday and Sunday. Service begins 4:23 a.m. and ends at 12:53 a.m. We have 9 trains running frequency all day, or all days of the week for 15 minutes. Orange Line operates between Courthouse and El Cajon, 142 trips, Monday to Friday, 134 on Saturday and Sunday. The service begins on the Orange Line at 4:44 a.m. and 1:08 a.m. is when it ends. We have 8 trains running for that. So we have a lot of trains out there running, servicing 15-minute headway. With the exception of 1 or 2 trains at the end of the service, we have 15-minute service all day long. For the Copper Line, it runs from El Cajon to Santee. It's a 1-car train normally. Even during Comic-Con, we were able to manage that with 1 car. So I don't foresee in the future that being needed to be expanded. So we were able to save a lot of train miles running between El Cajon and Santee. And that has really helped with the on-time performance and also with reliability in general. The service begins first, train express to Santee begins service going towards El Cajon at 4:57 a.m. and ends with the last train at 11:24 p.m. And we have 2 trains running in a 15-minute cycle there. So for special events for 2025, I included the last 2 SDFC games in those numbers, but we had 267 special events throughout the year. 197 of those events required extra service. We had about 1,843 extra trips operated throughout the whole year for the different events, and we took approximately 1,135,380 people in those trips. So it's a significant amount of extra people we do for special events. A lot of that was Comic-Con, and then also the No Kings March brought those numbers way up this year. So we operate extra service for many of the sporting events, concerts that occur during the trolley lines, events at the convention center, Petco Park, Snapdragon, Break Heavy for the trolley. Shuttle trains are scheduled based on the anticipated crowds for event. We try to send as much as we need, not more, not less, and we adjust. So as we get reports from people in the field, if it was too light for service, we'll send more. Obviously, we get to a point where we can't send more service due to the headways, but we do as best as we can. And occasionally we get people that feel overcrowded on the trains, but we're having trains run every 3 minutes, so we really can't add more than that. The average times for most events is between 30 and 45 minutes for the people that leave. And some of the events like the Snapdragon games, we were carrying 5,000 or 6,000 people away into the game. So a significant number of people is being moved in that time frame. We have some construction projects coming up. We got the closure at Santa Fe Depot between Imperial Terminal and Santa Fe coming up next weekend, December 13th to 14th. That'll be for the city project to connect Park Boulevard to Harbor Drive. We have a bus bridges operating, and noteworthy that we will not be servicing Gaslamp because there's no accessible location to board and deboard ADA passengers at Gaslamp Station for bus routes on Harbor Drive. The Orange Line Improvement Project started already. We've had 2 closures already done, and the next one's going to be in January. And those will be going throughout the next couple of years. We have a tire replacement project coming up. That's going to be single tracks at night. It won't be any service closures or anything like that, but it'll be the last couple of trains that might take delays. We have approximately 10,000 tires needed to replace on the westbound. We did that last year for the eastbound. And then we also have some projects such as 25th and Commercial, City College, where we need to do some rail replacements throughout next year that will require weekend shutdowns. Some of the pictures, they're kind of small on the captions, but Santa Fe Depot to IMT closure for Park Boulevard, the first 2 pictures on the left-hand side are some overhead shots of the work they're doing, replacing the track and the, excuse me, the catenary. For the Orange Line Improvement Project, the middle 2 shots are the crossing they put over on the first closure and just some of the track bed rearrangement. And then also during that time frame, track is taking advantage of the time to remove some of the old sidings that are no longer used. They're causing some issues liability-wise with bicycle riders and other people that have wheels on it. So on commercial, they're removing some of the sidings that are abandoned, well, not abandoned, but no longer being used. Any questions or comments?
Questions and comments, folks? There we go. Renee.
Hi. Hey, so you haven't get the estimate of the soccer, the playoffs about the trolley?
The numbers I put in for those events and the countouts and the.
Yeah.
And those were included for those last two post-event.
And then
games.
right now it's gonna be the Aztecs too?
The Aztecs aren't playing any longer this season, for a regular season. They lost on the Friday before last, I believe, and so there won't be a game. Would have been a game today, but, or
Oh,
tomorrow, excuse me.
okay, thank you.
Other comments or questions? Thank you for the report. And next we've got same day paratransit with Brittany Bardalis.
Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. You had it right. Thank you. My name is Brittany Bardales. I am the Assistant General Manager at the San Diego Paratransit location with TransDev, and I'm just going to tell you a little bit about how same-day service is going. So we begun offering same-day service as of July 1st. In order to use the service, the trips are scheduled on space available basis for eligible MTS access clients. Same-day service is a premium service. The cost is of $10 each trip. Reservations for same-day service can be made from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. year-round, so that's including weekends. Clients must call into the call center to be able to make these reservations. And these are subject to the same restrictions that any other ride is, so as far as areas and times go. Highlights of the same-day service is that it provides transportation options for clients that might have forgotten to book in advance or that have last-minute travel plans. It is less expensive than other transportation options, and it does help reduce slack time in our overall operation for paratransit. Thus far, from July to October, there's been an increase. That same-day service of the complete paratransit operation in October was 2.61% of the service. In August was 3.01, in September 3.61, and in October 3.56. So you can see that it's slowly going up. In numbers, July was 773, in August 852, September 1081, and in October 1144. That's it, very brief. Any comments, questions?
That was so short, caught people by surprise, probably. Tim?
Great, thank you for the presentation. Do you have information yet on, I guess, like the financial effects of doing this? I would think that if you have space available and you're able to provide more rides and you're collecting a higher fare, that this is like something that is good for the agency and that they can provide, MTS and TransDev can provide more rides without increasing their costs a lot, and you can also be increasing revenue a little bit. Do you have any information yet on how this affects overall, service?
Not concluding November's numbers, not yet. I think we will have a better idea. Thus far, it hasn't really seemed affected. There hasn't really been much change to the service or otherwise.
Okay, thanks. And just a follow-up question, is this going to be like reevaluated after a year or so? Is this, or what's the plan, I guess, for the same day service?
I'm not certain when that will come around. Probably more to come.
Renee?
Only a quick question. So the same day is the for 1 day ticket or it's all the year around?
It is a one-way, so for if tickets were being used for this service, it'd be 2 $5 tickets or the equivalent of the $10 for that one-way trip.
Oh, okay.
And how about David?
Hi, Brittany. Thanks for joining us. I just have a quick question. Do you keep a statistic about calls, rides requested versus rides actually able to be scheduled? on the same day service?
I do not, but that's probably something I'm gonna able to pull up at some point for you.
I know lately that's a statistic that's making the rounds in the transportation circles, is sort of like in terms of service availability and effectiveness. So if we can get some statistics like that, it would be helpful to evaluate how the program is actually doing. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Anything else? Well, thank you, thank you so much for the presentation.
Thank you.
Next, we have number 7, San Diego MTS Access Update and Medical Transportation Management Report with Vasilina Heiss.
Correct. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Vasilina Heiss. I am the manager of Paratransit and Minibus here at MTS, and I am going to provide the reports for MTS Access and MTM for the quarter, as well as some exciting updates in regards to MTS Access. So I just wanted to give an overview on what MTS Access is. So MTS Access is our complimentary paratransit service. It's an origin to destination service, and it's within 3/4 of a mile of each fixed route, as well as our trolley system. Transiv is our current provider for MTS Access, and they also use 3 different subcontractors. They use Yellow Taxi, Care 7, and most recently Silver Ride. So combined, they provide around 30,000 trips per month. Transiv does have 125 active drivers, and they operate 104 paratransit vehicles, cutaway vehicles. And I'm also going to provide an update on our functional assessment center, but that's going to be as part of the MTM overview. So in terms of our on-time performance, and this is a combination between MTS Access and the 3 subcontractors that I mentioned earlier, for the month, for between July and October, they ran an average of 86%, and we're seeing that increase ever since they implemented the subcontractors, both Care 7 and Silver Ride. So we have seen an increase in November, and we'll provide those numbers at our next ASAC meeting. And so here's the chart that just shows the previous year compared to how it is this year. For ridership, we are so far at 131,431. So in October, you will see we carried 35,000 passengers. That is the highest number we've had since the pandemic. And right now we're sitting at around 70 to 75% of pre-COVID ridership. So much like fixed routes, MTS Access is coming back, and it's coming back quickly. And again, here is a chart just showing the growth. In terms of complaints so far for the fiscal year, we're at 327. And while there is an uptake, it does make sense given that our ridership has increased as well. And we are working with our contractor and our subcontractors to address any of the issues that do pop up. Compliments have also increased. So far this year, we're at 60. So we're definitely seeing a lot of compliments from our passengers in terms of MTS Access, as well as the subcontractors. And that is it in terms of how the service is performing. So I did want to provide an update. As all of you are aware, the Do Not Leave Alone practice is going to be discontinued fully for all access clients effective January 1st of 2026. So this is the final update that we're providing on that. Previously, between January 1st, 2025 and the end of this year, participants who were already active in our system could keep their Do Not Leave Alone the policy. They could still use the policy. However, again, beginning January 1st of 2026, that is being discontinued. And so this was the result of a comprehensive review of the MTS paratransit system. And this is an industry standard. And the do not leave alone practice does go above and beyond what a driver is required to provide. And that becomes, it rises to a personal care attendant type of service or a PCA. And so along with that, if we do provide the do not leave alone service, it puts a lot of burden on our system, having the driver to wait with this particular individual. This particular individual may have to stay on the bus for a long period of time. So it's a lot of unnecessary burden. So that is the reason why that is being discontinued. This does apply to around 15% of our current active ridership. So it's about 580 or so people. And we've been diligent in providing an update to these individuals almost on a monthly basis, as well as ASAC and ASTEC. Some exciting news, we do have some electric vans coming to MTS Access. These are the first electric vehicles that we have within our service and within our fleet. So we are getting ready to put them into, not into service yet. We want to see exactly how they perform. We're not entirely sure what they're going to do yet, but we want to see how they perform. And so hopefully some of you will be able to ride these vans. We're really excited to see what they can do and what we can do with them in the future. Now I'm going to move on to MTM, that is our certification contractor. So these are their numbers through FY26. We're also seeing a rise similar to how we're seeing a rise in our ridership. And again, here's an overview of that. And then my last update is our functional assessment center. So as of December 1st, we opened up a functional assessment center. It is located right next to MTM, so it's within the same building, it's indoors. And the purpose of a functional assessment center is to gain a better understanding of an individual's functional abilities as it relates to use of our fixed route service. And we'll be able to help better identify a person's needs. So will they get unconditional eligibility? Will they get conditional eligibility, or even temporary? This ensures that the decisions are consistent and fair as and also ADA compliant. And again, this gathers a real world information of an individual's abilities. Some things to note about this is that this is not a pass or fail test, and not everyone is going to go through a functional assessment center. We really want to see how a person's abilities are. Sometimes people overestimate their abilities, sometimes they underestimate their abilities. And so we've created this center where it really mimics the real world. So there's uneven surfaces, there's curb cuts, things along those lines. And so that's what we're going to have certain individuals go through depending on what the assessor indicates whether or not it's needed. It's important to note that applicants are never alone during this process, and applicants will always be heard and can stop at any time if they feel uncomfortable or they feel unsafe. And then we encourage participation during the process, again, to gain a better understanding of their travel abilities and limitations. So we're excited. We've a couple of people have gone through our functional assessment center, and so far we've gotten a lot of positive feedback on it. That's it. Any questions, comments?
Thank you. Questions and comments? Yes, David.
Hi, Vassie. Thanks for speaking today.
Yeah.
I understand you've implemented a new system, scheduling system for access. Is that right?
No, we made an upgrade to our Trapeze software, so we're on the newest version right now. So I don't know if you maybe saw a message on the Easy Access app that said it might be down. Is that what you're referring to?
No.
No?
Yeah, just there have been some scheduling difficulties, and the drivers keep saying to the other passengers and to myself, it's the new scheduling system. They're having trouble with it. So, and there's always going to be bugs and
Yeah.
a transition with upgrades and things like that. But I wanted to clarify with you, was it an entirely new system that everyone had to be trained on, or was this just
No.
a simple change?
No, we're still within our Trapeze system. We just upgraded it to the newest version. And so we have gone through some of the bugs that we had that were very limited. So if there are any issues, we would hope that the drivers would raise them with Transiv. So we'll definitely look into it. Have you had any problems recently that they can look into?
Today.
Oh, today. Okay, yeah.
But I want to just clarify, we have a complaints structure and also a complements structure in place for passengers, right?
Correct.
Can we do something to sort of publicize that, maybe post something on the buses so that, the riders know when they can give a compliment or when
Absolutely.
they can give a complaint?
Yeah.
And what is that structure? How does it really work? Are you just leaving a
Yeah,
telephone message or?
Yeah, so you can submit or complaint, compliment, comment, concerns. You can do it on the MTS website, and you can also call into our customer service department. I know that if I ever receive any kind of email regarding comments, complaints, whatever it is, I will always forward it on to our customer service department so that it's entered into our system and we can track it in the event it's something that's reoccurring or whatever it may be. So there's several ways that someone can submit something. So it's very accessible.
Good. I'll talk to you more about that afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we'll be happy to provide numbers, email addresses, websites.
Thanks,
needed.
Bessie.
Yeah, of course.
Wonderful. I had a question about functional assessment. And I don't know if people realize this, but if you go to transit conferences, you'll find that functional assessment is way more interesting than you might have guessed. And the transit agencies vary quite a bit you've noticed this too. Transit agencies vary quite a bit in how they do functional assessment, how frequently, what they require. And it's just much more interesting than I would have guessed at first. But my question is, how do you strike a balance between, on the one hand, obviously we want to make sure that people are accountable and that people are using fixed route if they can use fixed route, that we're not moving people around with the other systems unless there's a real need. But on the other hand, a lot of people will say that it's a waste of time putting people through a test on a regular basis, and they'll cite anecdotal evidence of like somebody in a wheelchair that has to basically show that they're still in a wheelchair. Sometimes what kind of screening do we have? What kind of balance do you see between, on the one hand, trying to save resources by not doing it any more often than is needed, and trying to identify the cases that are in fact a permanent disability, versus possibly saving money the other way by making sure people who can use the fixed route know that that's appropriate.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to reiterate, it's absolutely not a test. We're just gaining a better understanding of someone's abilities. And so this gives the MAEs, or the mobility assessment evaluators, it gives them a much clearer indication of someone's abilities compared to what they can get just from an application in an interview. And so we want to ensure that we are giving someone the correct eligibility, because if they do, let's say, overestimate their abilities and maybe they can't walk over certain maybe cracks or whatever it may be, then that will give us a clear indication. And so, we can definitely get them here next time, because this is just such a fresh process for us, and they can give a more detailed presentation on it, and just, what they have learned and how they would decide. And so it really is on a case-to-case basis, and it's not something that they are doing, whether it's they'll get more hours out of doing that, whatever it may be. It's really on a case-to-case basis. If they can't fully get an understanding from an interview, then it might be necessary to go through the functional assessment center.
And I think it's really good that you framed it as something that can benefit the rider.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, they might actually benefit from knowing that fixed route is a more realistic option than they had thought. And people that are requesting the ride service, I mean, there are inconveniences and problems with the ride service that some people might actually benefit from the fixed route. And I'm glad you phrased it that way. And I think we can rightly take pride in being very rider-centric and focused on our passengers here at MTS. Are there any other questions or comments? Yes, Tim.
Hi, Vassie. I don't know much about functional assessments and like what that looks like, or what like the space physically looks like. But I'm wondering if that is like the same type of environment that could be used for travel training and just like teaching people how to use fixed route transit. Because, for somebody who you know, maybe they're able-bodied or not, but like if they've never ridden a bus before or the trolley and they don't know, you know, how to get on and how to pull the cord and things like that, can it be used for travel training or is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's something, having a functional assessment has always been a goal of ours. It's just we needed to find the space and we did. And so that is most certainly something that we would look to do as well. As far as travel training went, we did have a travel training program many years ago, and it took people out in the real world. But this is something that individuals can benefit from because we used to do more in a group setting. But yes, most certainly that's something that we would look forward to. And we're still not fully done with the center. It's functional, but we wanted to put some stuff on the wall that really does mimic the transit agency. And to your point, George, every transit agency that does have a functional assessment, it really is different because of their landscape. And so, we deal with sunshine the majority of the year, but if you go up to Washington, it's primarily rain and that kind of stuff. And so it really is tailored to us. And that's what we want to do as far as travel training went and use that as we develop the center more.
David?
Just another comment to follow up on what you were mentioning, George. I'm not sure how familiar you are with it, but having gone through the assessment process, it's an in-person interview. So you would show up, for instance, if you use a wheelchair regularly, you would appear in your wheelchair, you get evaluated there in person, and you have medical documentation you have to supply about your needs and your abilities. That's all part of it. I am interested to know about the functional assessment too. I know Charles was working on that before, and so I was paying attention to that when he was involved. It's nice to know you finally have that up and running.
Yeah.
I have noticed just two things with riders. One is I've noticed riders that have voiced a complaint on the bus that they say that they could take an Uber, or they do take Ubers. And so that makes me curious that if they take Ubers, why would they be riding the Access shuttle service? The other is most medical plans, I think under the ACA, they are required to provide medical transportation to medical appointments, including low-income state insurance. And so I know there's a lot of riders that we get that travel to medical appointments. And so I'm curious if there might be some offset in terms of having them use the transportation for their medical plans. Maybe like we could publicize that, just give them some notice, like in the interview, or sometimes they don't even realize that they have medical transportation available to them. And so they might be taking Access when they really could have free transportation to their medical appointments through their insurance plan.
Yeah, and so that's actually something that we did a couple of years back because there was a change in how the MCPs, I believe there's 7 of them, maybe there could be more now. And so they were to provide transportation to medical appointments, but we did definitely publicize that. We let everyone know, hey, make sure you contact your MCP, whoever they may be, United, Kaiser. And we said, contact them because you can get free transit to and from your appointment. And a lot of the feedback that we got and why a lot of people stayed on MTS Access is because of how reliable the service is. And so people were more willing to pay the $5. So that's something that we've worked on for many, many years. It's just kind of a hard grasp when it comes to the public. So we've definitely worked on that. It's just
I would also affirm that.
Yeah.
In terms of the reliability of access over the medical transport.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, it does get you there, but
Yeah.
it is free. You get what you pay for, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so, yeah, we've encouraged our clientele to reach out to them so that they can, save the money that they would use on Access, but it's a hard sell. Yeah.
Todd?
I was going to possibly try to address the Uber aspect. Our agency happens to be one where we actually will fund an Uber or not an Uber, we use brokerage service, but it is a rideshare service that people can use. We primarily use that if the person can't ride Access to their job. And so because of the 3/4 mile, and so if they could use it, they would, but because they can't, because it doesn't go to that destination, then thus we would allow them to potentially use that service. The other thing too, just for our population, I mean, a lot of people, they may be able to ride Uber, but couldn't navigate a transfer. They can't read the bus, numbers or the system or things like that, or have enough knowledge to, pull the cord when they need to and things like that. So just to kind of address your area a little bit there, David. I had a question, Vassie, and I think I know the answer anyways, but if you have somebody that's going for an assessment, part A and part B is in, and they happen to be with an agency like ours, and we do have mobility trainers, and if there is an assessment that's done, that can be submitted as well, right? As far as any kind of supporting document to.
Absolutely. Yep,
Okay.
absolutely. And if someone does also appeal their determination, they can provide as much supporting documentation as they feel is necessary. If, let's say, something was missed during the initial assessment.
Yeah, I thought that was would be the answer, but I wanted to make sure.
Thank you, Tim.
All right, sorry, back to me. Are the same day, the last presentation, the same day service rides included in the access ridership statistics that you presented in this item?
Yes, it is. And so what we can do for the next ASAC is we can break that out by regular ridership and by same day, if that would be beneficial for everyone. We're more than happy to do that.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, and then just curious, the on-time performance is when people do like a same day service, they're still like scheduling a time, right? Like
Correct.
2 o'clock. And so that's how the on-time performance is.
So long as it fits within the schedule. And
Okay.
so that's what's unique about the same day rides is if it fits within the schedule. If someone says, 2 o'clock and it happens to fit in it, then absolutely. And that trip goes through the same standards as every other trip would go as far as on-time performance goes.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, Todd.
Sorry, last question. I guess
go ahead.
Tim asked it, and then maybe it made me think of one. I'm kind of curious because I know the system demand is heavy in the morning, probably from 7 to like 9, and then maybe 2 to 5 in the afternoon for regular trips. I'm just kind of curious if you noticed any kind of same day trip, like if at certain hours are more, being accessed more than other times. So I don't know if maybe that's something you could see. Brittany's got the answer right there.
And just to answer a question from earlier, this is a pilot program for 1 year. And so we were evaluated towards the end of June.
Yes, there is a little bit of a pattern. Those high peaks that we're aware of that are generally like 6 to like 8, it's difficult to get a same day ride. It'd be something where someone must have just canceled and the slot opened up and they got lucky. So yes, generally you're going to see something more in the window between 10 and 12. And in the afternoon, those kind of sporadic rides.
Any other? Oh, Debbie.
In regards to the do not leave alone and the discontinuation, what kind of outreach are you doing? Because we're coming up on the end of that. And so I just worry people will, even though you've been letting them know for quite some time,
Yeah.
that there might be a little hiccup for some folks.
Yeah, absolutely. And, like you said, we've been reaching out to everyone, letting them know. We've been sending letters. When someone does reach out to us, we'll definitely give an explanation. And we have provided facts information. So if someone wants to see what, FACT can provide. And so their website is factsd.org. Let me just make sure that's the one. I want to say it's.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, right. It is, right? Yeah. And so they provide a lot of service as well to people with disabilities and seniors. And so if someone is looking for that type of service, I think that they would be a good resource for that. And they're also they don't just do the 3/4 of a mile, they go beyond that. And so someone might be able to get trips elsewhere where MTS does not reach. So, that's, I think, probably the best resource as far as that goes, or any of the non-emergency medical transportation companies, the NEMTs, they can certainly provide that kind of service as well.
Thank you.
And I think the concept is not that people who are currently riding with somebody would be alone. The concept is that they'd be riding with a caretaker or a companion that's going to the same place they're going to and doing the things with them. And so it's not leaving people alone. It's a different concept of how people get help, that the help is like either is a family member, a caretaker, maybe somebody from the agency that they're going to. It's not that they're alone. It's that they have a different kind of companion or caretaker.
And I think it's important to note, we want, when someone is being picked up or dropped off, to have someone there waiting for them. And that's, also the issue is that sometimes someone is not there to take ownership of the individual. And so if they're not there, that's when we can't leave them alone. We can't just leave them at the door. And so it's very important for passengers to have that person ready to be able to take the individual, whoever they may be, so that they are not left stranded, which we won't strand anyone, but then you kind of go into what the next phase is. And so.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you so
Yeah,
much
of
for the
course.
report. That's all of our discussion items, and next we have committee member communication and other business. I can share that I was at the 20th annual meeting for facilitating access to coordinated transportation. I know several of you were there celebrating 20 years of FACT, and I can say that it was especially wonderful to see MTS well represented at the 20th anniversary. And Michael Wygant was among the speakers. Are there other committee member? Yeah, Tim.
Thank you. I've got two announcements. So announcing two SANDAG plans that are kind of coming to completion right now. So the proposed final 2025 coordinated plan is now available for public review on our website. So we invite everyone to review the plan and submit comments to the project team. And you can either leave a voicemail, you can send an email with your comments, or you can just let me know if you have comments personally. So the coordinated plan is something we do every 4 years as an agency, and it's looking specifically at the transportation needs of older adults, people with disabilities, and people with low incomes, and how to address those transportation needs. So some of the things that come out of it, we've got like policy, like recommended policy changes, things we can do as SANDAG, and things we recommend other agencies to do, like MTS and NCTD. So we work closely with them throughout the plan. And then also funding priorities for the Specialized Transportation Grant Program, which is a grant program that SANDAG administers to a lot of transportation providers, a lot of the nonprofits. And so we're identifying in those in the plan what we want the funding priorities to be for the next 4 years. And it's informed by the analysis that we did and the outreach that we did over the last 1.5 years working on the plan. So we'll be presenting a summary of the plan on tomorrow, 1 p.m. At the Transportation Committee at SANDAG. So we'll be referencing any feedback that we've gotten from the public and from other stakeholders. During the public review period, we're only able to provide 2 weeks with that, but we encourage everyone to participate in the meeting if you're able to, or send me your comments ahead of time and I'll incorporate them into the presentation. And at that time, the Transportation Committee will hold a public hearing to solicit additional feedback, and then they'll be asked to approve the plan. Okay, and that's coordinated plan. The 2025 regional plan is the other announcement. So back in May, SANDAG released the draft 2025 regional plan and then the draft environmental impact report for the plan on August 26th. So thanks to everyone who participated in the development of that plan and provided feedback. So the proposed final 2025 regional plan and the EIR environmental impact report are expected to be available on our website tomorrow at sandag.org/2025 regional plan. And then so December 12th, that's next Friday, the SANDAG Board of Directors will be asked to adopt the plan and certify the final environmental impact report for the 2025 regional plan. So that's another one where if you've got comments, you can submit them on the agenda online. There's an online form, or you can come to the meeting either in person or online and provide additional feedback for the Board of Directors consideration.
And that's SANDAG Transportation Committee?
Yeah, so the one for tomorrow is the SANDAG Transportation Committee. That's the coordinated plan. And the Board of Directors is the body that will be deciding on the regional plan next Friday. And that one's at 9 a.m.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Any other? Yes.
Hello, my name is Casey Rodville. I work with NAMI San Diego, and we have our upcoming SMARTS advocacy trainings, as you can see on the flyers that have been provided. One of those trainings is telling your story, and what you learn to tell your story are in 2 minutes or less. And the purpose of this is sometimes decision makers have limited time, and it's learning how to condense, or rather as a family member or your own story, on how to reach the policymakers quickly. The other training that we have as well is contacting your policymaker, which shows you the different ways to which you can reach out, whether social media or talking to an assistant or things of that nature. And lastly, there's meeting your policymaker. And that is where you learn how to have a discussion with the person you're about to meet for decision making. All these trainings are free. I've taken them personally, and it is a way to get your voice out to the decision makers and learning how to talk to them. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Katie. And I can say, as someone who worked for a state senator and a state assembly member, that it's often the staff that that advocates end up getting to know very well. And sometimes the key is to find the staff person that's really focused on the issue. You had the same kind of experience. Yeah, I can remember as a staff person, there were people that I got to know particularly well. And I'd be telling the senator, what the concerns were, and sometimes she'd rely on me to stay in touch with people in those communities with those concerns. So yeah, this training is incredibly valuable, and I can tell you, as a staff member for a legislator, I've seen it done well, and I've seen it not done as well. So the training is extremely valuable. But everybody does well if they get across their story. That's really the key. The key. It's not. Sometimes people will call up a senator's office and they'll have arguments that sound like something from a political briefing, and that's not terribly effective. What's effective is when people share their story, and they how their experience adds value to what the senator needs to know, or the assembly member, or whoever it is, council member needs to know. So thank you so much for that. Is there any other committee member reports? Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. Christian Hernandez, Operations Manager for FACT. So we just wanted to announce earlier this year, we got awarded the Access for All grant, Cycle 2. We're going to try to implement that here, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. We're still working out the last kinks of it, but that's going to be the focus for on-demand, same-day wheelchair accessible rides. So again, the focus of it is individuals that are using wheelchairs to get them same-day rides. We're going to try to mimic a little bit of what MTS is doing with the limited scheduling hours, try to save on some staff time towards the end of the day where sometimes it's not super busy. But please stay tuned to the website for updates, factsd.org. Vassy mentioned it earlier. And so we'll post on there an exact start date, but we're hoping to do that here again, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, if not January for us to be the launch date.
And Christian, is it factsd.org? Not sdfact.org.
Factsd.org.
Fact SD, the fact first, then the SD. Okay, yeah.
Don't confuse me.
Good. Yeah, I think that's where people are like, did I get it right? Yeah, factsd.org. Wonderful. Thanks so much. Any other? Okay. Oh, yes, Alyssa.
Hi, everybody. I'm Alyssa Allen, Associate Transportation Planner with Caltrans. I've mentioned this at a couple other meetings, but just wanted to update ASAC. So we're working on the district transit plan. We're in coordination with headquarters Office of Transit Planning, and we're developing a district transit plan, and that it'll identify and prioritize transit infrastructure needs on the state transportation network and position district specific needs for funding and implementation. So some of the goals for the plans include reliability and service, access, customer experience, resilience and sustainability, and equity. So the results of these ongoing efforts will include the Caltrans District 11 Transit Plan, the statewide summary report, and statewide story map, and this will be completed by fall/winter 2026. Okay.
Thank you. Anything else? Well, this is the longest meeting that I've, do we have more? Oh, I was gonna say, this is the longest meeting and, that I've chaired. It's great to see, and that's a good thing. It's great to see all the interest, all the questions. And of course, we had several reports, that generate interest. And I've greatly enjoyed being the chair of this committee. And we'll know pretty soon, MTS is going to appoint a new chair. We'll know pretty soon who that's going to be. Item 9 says next meeting date to be determined. I'm not sure there's anything to say about that. I think it'll probably follow the same schedule, though. I think the reason it's to be determined is because I think MTS has to make a decision about whether they're going to follow the same schedules they generally do. And then and if there's nothing else, then that's the whole show. And it's time to adjourn and thank everybody. So thank you for coming. Thank you.